Hey guys, welcome back to the 80s Metalhead Show. On the show today we have Paul Shortino, the vocalist of King Kobra, Quiet Riot, and yes, of course, Rough Cutt. This was such an awesome interview to do. 2 hours of laughs and stories, and I just want to say another huge thank you to Paul for coming onto the show. Guys, if you can go follow all his socials, that would be amazing. And if you do like this interview, guys, please, if you can, give it a like, subscribe, wherever you're watching it from, and definitely let me know who you want me to interview next time. I've got so many guests lined up, and it's going to be awesome. So, guys, enjoy.
Mate, how you doing?
I'm good, bro. Really, really good. Thank you for coming on to do this interview. I really appreciate it.
It's my pleasure. Are you kidding? I just, I've been doing some songs with Carmine. This record Cleopatra put out with all of these, Vivian Campbell on it, Joe Lynn Turner, George Lynch, and Carmine, Benny, his brother, Benny Appice. It was Carmine of Peace and Benny Appice. And then their brother Frank Apici. I mean, they all have it. They just pronounce their name different. But and there's a lot of people on this record, and it's a tribute to Rainbow.
Oh, that's awesome.
So I ended up doing Street of Dreams, and I don't know who else played on it, at this point. But and then we're doing a King Kobra song. It's from Air Supply called Chances. And Carmine decided that he wanted to make it like it's a ballad, right? Air Supply is like, chances are, it's the original version. When you listen to it, it wasn't one, I don't think it was one of their big hits, but the funny thing about it is he made it the drum groove to Valley of the Kings, Blue Murder. So the groove is boom, it's pretty trippy how we did this. It actually turned out to be writing a song, because it's nothing like the original.
So it's just the one song?
Yeah, it's just one song, and it's Cleopatra's putting out a whole bunch of stuff. There's a lot of people going to be on this Rainbow tribute thing. I don't know who's doing this Air Supply stuff, but they're going to release an album of Air Supply songs, and I guess a lot of people just are going to do them like, their original version. Like, I thought it'd be really easy just to make it heavier, Zeppelin, Bonham kind of chances are, and no, he had to make it difficult. So we cut. He actually took, he did 90 BPMs, and then he arranged it in his head and then sent it to me with a vocal line separately explaining where it starts, opens, where the vocal comes in. And then I actually took his drum vibe and then played guitar and bass and came up with the music to go with it. And then we had a young guitar player who does a lot of the icons of classic rock with me, Brandon Paul, ended up playing guitar on this thing and just tore it up.
I'll be honest, I haven't.
He took my half hind-end guitar work and made it. Actually, what I did was pretty cool. I've got to put a 12-string on it. That will add some just a different texture to the track. But it's pretty cool how it came out. And Mick Sweeta, actually, Johnny Rod from right now, King Kobra's cutting the bass. So we'll see what happens. It was crazy. He started at 90 BPMs, and then we slowed it down to, the guitar player had a program where we could slow it down because it was just too fast to sing. And then I listened to him sing and then sang it line by line. So I really want to go back now and, re-sing it. But it's been so weird how him sending a scratch drum groove that we all ended up playing to, and then he thought it was too simple because he was thinking about the arrangement. So when he re-recorded it, our parts didn't fit his new drum groove. So he was having it maybe, on the upbeat, to push it in the solo section. So all the work that we did was all scratch work. So then he recut. I got a hold of him and I says, I don't know what planet you were on, but you need to come back. And your original drum track was brilliant. I said, now it's gotten complicated because you're thinking too much. Before you were just laying down the arrangement. Okay, this is the beginning, and he was counting one, and he's, on the vocal track, and it was he had a vocal track telling us where. Oh yeah, the guitars are going to come in here, and this is where the solo is. And then the guitar player said, "Hey, let's modulate it for the solo," and it really turned out pretty cool. And I really did a pretty cool job on my own version of Street of Dreams, which was kind of cool. I had a lot to choose from, but I know Joe and I know Ronnie. I could have picked Man on the Silver Mountain, or there was one other one that Carmine had played on that I could have actually jumped on. But when I saw Street of Dreams, I went, I'd really like to try rocking out. And then I see Joe's on there, so then I spent a lot of time tracking the vocal. And I think I spent like 10 hours, and I got this real gravelly thing on my voice after doing it. And I went, oh, now this is a keeper, because I didn't want to try to copy Joe, because he's a great singer, and that song's, I look up to him, Glenn Hughes, Coverdale, those guys I look up to. And so I really wanted to do a good job on it. I didn't want to, do a piss poor job on it. So I think I made him proud. I think he'll be proud of my vocal, because it was all to probably stuff they're tracking. There was no energy in the track.
Just flat.
It almost sounded like a karaoke version of Street of Dreams, and nobody's really tracked their parts on it. So I guess they're laying those down. But when I had to track to it, I started thinking, I wonder if this is a karaoke track, just so that they can, get my voice and then build around it. Because I was thinking, it's what took me so long to sing this thing, because it was like, it doesn't have any energy, it's just
When can we all expect this to come out? When is it coming out?
I think it'll be coming out. Well, everything has to be finished in October.
Okay.
All of this stuff. So, they still are adding a whole bunch of people, and then I'm doing a show in October with Icons Classic Rock with Alex Liebergood and Johnny Edwards, Dave Evans, who actually played with Malcolm and his brother back before. I'm trying to think. Bon Scott got in the band, and so he was jamming with him, and I guess they had a #1 hit. So he's on the tour. There's a guy that did some gigs with Journey, and he's got a voice like Steve Perry, but he's, I don't believe he was ever in the band. He did some corporate gigs with him before they found someone to replace Steve, but he's on it. Johnny Edwards sang with Foreigner, so he's doing it, the show. Also Robin McCauley.
Yep.
And
love him. He's awesome.
We're good buddies. We go back probably 40 years knowing each other, and then Raiding the Rock Vault together for 7 years was like 6 nights a week. It was like hanging out and really getting to know each other in a different perspective. And he's on that show. And then next year in October, I'm touring Germany with Jolyn Turner. I think Mark Strachey, the Legends of Rock or Rock Legends, something like that.
Legends of Rock, I think it is.
Yeah. So they just sent me the schedule because we were supposed to do it this year. But I think with all the stuff going on around the world, and I think they just wanted to restructure because last year I did this year was the last year Rock Meets Classic. So last year I did it with Russ Ballard, Midger, Tarja from Nightwish, the female singer. Man, she's incredible. Robert Hart, and then John Hollingwell from Supertramp. What a great time and playing with a orchestra. It was awesome. Doing Metal House, Stay With Me Tonight. We didn't do any Rough Cut. On this thing, I think we're going to do Piece of My Heart.
Have you been doing any Rough Cut? Have you been doing much Rough Cut recently, or?
No, but I think on the Rock Legends, so we're going to probably do Piece of My Heart because people know that song more than a lot of the Rough Cut stuff, so. And then the Quiet Riot stuff, Metal Health, Stay With Me Tonight, and Come On Feel the Noise, which are, Come On Feel the Noise, a Slade song. I actually saw them. They were headlining, and I think I was 16 years old at the Palladium in Hollywood, and Brownsville Station, who wrote Smoking in the Boys' Room, and Motley redid it. And then there was Leonard Skinner. And then on the bill also was James Gang with Tommy Bolin playing guitar.
Wow.
Joe Walsh wasn't in the band. They had a front guy. And then the headliner was Slade.
Would you say Slade's one of your early influences?
I think they're great. They're great rockers, they really are. Rough Cut redid a song from another Australian band on the first album, I Never Gonna Die by the Choir Boys.
I love those guys, yeah. I never knew that.
You guys got a lot of good, good rockers that have come out of Australia.
Yeah, there's a lot of underground guys as well that people don't know. But there's some Americans that know some of the underground Aussie 80s rock bands like Axe Attack, Bengal Tigers. There's a lot of great guys that just didn't explode AC/DC and those guys, yeah.
Well, look at AC/DC. They are the biggest band in the world right now.
Well, they're coming back here in a few months. I'm fucking excited to see them, I'll tell you that.
Yeah, I'll bet. I saw them a long time ago. I got to see Ozzy too at the Cal Jam. And also Deep Purple. The headliner was Emerson, Lake and Palmer. The Eagles opened the show. This was, I think, 72.
Wow, that's
in
a long
Ontario.
time ago. Long time ago.
Long time ago. I'm an old fart, I saw all these people that I look up to, and now I met them when I was staying with Ronnie Dio, and he was working with Rough Cut, and so I was so easily persuaded to sign contracts that they got me out of a bad contract, and then they go, you know what, we can't trust you, so we're going to move you in. And then he started working with us. My folks had a studio at the time, and that's when Rough Cut was with Claude Schnell, Jakey Lee Williams, also Dave Albert. It was before Matt and Chris Hager got in the band, and Amir. The changes through that band were a trip.
Yeah, because you had Jake, Craig as well, and they went on to do
Yep.
bigger, like.
And then Amir got in the band, and we went to the UK to try to get signed. Came back 2 weeks later after we went over to the UK and did some shows with Saxon and stuff. Next thing you know, Ted Templeman comes down and sees the band, and Amir had just joined the band, and he was only in the band 2 weeks before we got signed to Warner Brothers. And it was like a trip, you know. It was probably good luck.
But with back to 1985, your debut album, you know, you had your first tour with Crocus, was it? The first like show with Crocus. Yeah, how was that? What was that like? Any memories?
Oh, well, what was it? It was a trip because I had just did Spinal Tap. So we were on the record just come out, and we waited a year to find a producer. We waited on Ted Templeman, and he didn't come through. So we ended up with Tom Allen. However, if Teddy would have, you know, we missed the window, Rough Cutt. We were signed before Rat, Motley, and all these guys. And their stuff was coming out. And it was so funny because Matt Thorne was working at the Tower Records on Sunset. And he kept coming to rehearsal going, man, we got to get our record going, man. We got to get, a producer, we're going to miss the window. And so we kept going through, we went through a whole bunch of people. And then we ended up with Tom Allen. And we missed that window. So we went out, and the first tour we were on was Crocus and Accept. And I had just, right before Rough Cutt got signed, I did Spinal Tap. So it comes out the week that we're on the road with Crocus and Accept. And this is like, this is because we weren't even signed yet, Rough Cutt. So we hadn't did our record yet, right? So they finished up Spinal Tap, and now we're out on the road. There's 3 bands. We're first, then it's Accept, then Crocus. And we have no room on the stage. We don't even get a line check, right?
Oh, wow.
So they're showing Spinal Tap on the buses and in all the hotels. I mean, it's just blowing up everywhere, right? So I think it was in Chicago, and it was a total sausage fest. I mean, there was just nothing but male leather jackets out there. They were there to Accept. Crocus was headlining, but Balls to the Wall was in the audience, and it was balls to the wall. If there was a chick out there, she'd have faked you out. So anyways, the road manager walks by our dressing room, and he goes, "Aren't you Duke Fame in Spinal Tap?" And I said, "Yeah, I'm Duke Fame in Spinal Tap." And he goes, "Hey, the guys in Crocus want to meet you, Mark, and the guitar player and the whole band." So I went backstage and met the guys in the band. We hung out together, and from that point on, we got a line check. It was so trippy. I went, the Spinal Tap thing, I had such a small part in it, but it's really gotten a lot of mileage out of that little scene. I mean, I've ran into so many rock people that they come up to me and go, "Aren't you Duke Fame?" Yeah.
How did that all come together? How did you get into like the Spinal Tap? Like, what happened with that?
Well, I had an agent that reached out to Rob Reiner and them, and Howard Hessman, who was my manager in the first one, had passed away during COVID. So I kind of, was hoping that I could get back on it and on the next Spinal Tap. Duke Fame still alive, but his manager died. That was my big line to try my sales pitch, right? But I guess it didn't work because the new movie is based on everybody hating themselves. How funny is that? That's what really happens in bands. So they're all traveling together to make money, but they hate each other. So yeah, it would have been cool to be in the new one. Actually, they showed it in the theaters, so I'll make some money off on my SAG. You know, I got a check once for 8 cents. I was going, you know, you guys can like wait till it just, you know, gets enough for a postage stamp.
8 cents is not a lot of money at all.
Yeah, but it was good fun. You know, it was all ad lib. You know, they had like an outline for a script, and they let everybody just ad lib whatever they wanted to say. You know, and I was kind of just like, I was a new guy on the block. In fact, the girl that I was with in that movie was dating Jackson Brown, and he dumped her for Daryl Hannah. And here I'm sitting with her who dated a rock star. I'm not even signed to Warner Brothers with Rough Cutt. And then there's Wendy Dio, who's the manager of Rough Cutt. And, you know, I'm sitting there with these people that, you know, are rock stars and been around rock stars to play a rock star. And how I got the part was I just showed up with my own clothes.
And then
Wardrobe didn't even have to. I showed up in the white leather, and they went, "There's Duke Fame." Jake showed up later, and so did Dave Alford, and they didn't make it. I got there first, and it was like it was over. You know, and they went, "Hey, he's perfect." So, and how they got us to show up, we were playing the Troubadour, and the casting crew had saw a advertisement in one of the local, I think a BAM magazine or one of the local rock magazines back then in the 80s. And they came down, saw us at the Troupe and said, "Hey, you come down at Norm's," or it was Norm's or Denny's, one of the two. And they told all three of us to come down. And I ended up getting it because I showed up first. Got me a long way. They got us a line check.
Yeah.
But I'll tell you what, it's been like Spinal Tap. Even when we went on the road with Dio and Accept and Crocus. After that tour, actually, Accept picked us up and we did a West Coast tour because that Crocus and Accept was on the East Coast. So the next thing I know, we were touring with them on the West Coast, and it was cool.
Yeah, you've had quite a career, you know, Rough Cutt, Quiet Riot, movies, King Kobra. I can keep going on and on. What's the one moment that stands out in your career?
Well, I had actually, when I was 17, I was signed to Bell Records, and I did it with Mickey Dolenz sister, and it was signed to Bell Records, and it was 22 with a Bullet on Billboard. It was a 45, and Snuff Garrett produced it, who actually produced Liza Minnelli, Sonny and Cher. I mean, the band was, I think it was I'm trying to think of the drummer, Fats Domino drummer, I think it was. But it was a corny little song. And then Vicki Lawrence came out, who was on the Carol Burnett show at that time. I think it was in 1972 or 73 when it was released. And she came out with, "That's the night that the lights went out in Georgia. That's the night they hung an innocent man." And my record got shelved. And that was it. And then I actually was doing an interview with a guy in New Jersey, and he says, "How come you never mention your first record?" And I says, "I totally forgot about it." He says, "I have the 45 promotional." I says, "You're kidding." I didn't even have a record player at the time. He says, "If you send me some of your new stuff, I'll send you the 45. And then the guy that lived here who got me the deal, I'm sorry, he passed away and left me the master vinyl. And then I did an interview with a guy in Arizona, and I didn't have a record player then. I do now, but he says, I have a MP3 of your first song. And I went, no way. And he goes, oh, yeah, man, I'll send it to you if you send me some new stuff. I says, I'll send you some new stuff. So one of my, I guess, most memorable moments where it was probably in, well, there's two of them, actually. Actually, I have quite a few, actually, but it's hard to pick from. Doing Rough Cutt did in 1985 Japan. I think it was Japan 8, I think it was, and Sting headline, Foreigner was on it, and we went on at 4 a.m. in the morning, and it's live on YouTube. I mean, you can see the sun coming up, and we had a captive audience because they bust these people in, and that was probably about 50,000, you know, and really amazing because one gig we actually went on to a full house, and it was in Philadelphia, in the Spectra Arena. They let all the people in an hour before any music, so we opened up for him with a full house and probably 20,000 people. But it's been, I've had some crazy stuff with the icons of classic rock. We did the Aguascaliente festival, and Sting headline, Christina Aguilera, Toto, Enrique Iglesias, and it was 100,000 people. So that's kind of memorable. That's kind of, you know, and those people know all the, you know, you can't communicate it when they know the songs.
That's a lot of people.
You know, they don't know Stay With Me Tonight, but they know Come On, Feel the Noise, because and Mental Health, because Quiet Riot did those in Spanish. So when I joined Quiet Riot, we played in Colombia before we toured in Japan and whatnot, and we were playing some big festivals, but it felt like being in the Beatles. We had to run. I've got video footage of a lot of this stuff. We had to run to the bus. And when we got in the bus, the fans tried to overturn the bus. So it was like the Beatles, you know, having to run to get away from the fans, had to run to get to the bus. So that was a pretty, in meeting Pablo Escobar in Medellin, you know, was a very, that was before the iPhones and stuff. We actually took a picture with him, and I think Frankie Donnelly was the only one who had the picture, and God rest his soul, because he's gone. So I don't know if he even got one, but we took pictures with him and hung out with him. It was a trip.
Yeah, that's tricky. That's what.
Oh yeah, and the bus driver took us through where all the drug lords lived, right? It was like Beverly Hills of Colombia, all these mansions, and we were supposed to be driving in there, and and our bus wasn't like a tour bus, because we were staying in a hotel, so it was like a city bus. It was green with flowers painted on the side, and people could see in it, you know. And so we're driving in through the mountains and going to Medellin, and you hear the brakes squeaking, you know. We're going, and the cliffs are just enormous cliffs. But what an experience, Colombia. That was quite an experience. And then playing Japan with Quiet Riot, and James Brown headlined. And we went on, and the Quiet Riot went on in the afternoon, and we were just recording our Quiet Riot record. We went through a whole year of litigation because they only had one more record to do on Pasha Records with Spencer Prophet. And the management wanted to go directly to CBS, Sony, and do a deal. because they didn't even know what when I joined the band, they didn't even own their publishing. They signed a deal like old Motown, you know. I'll take you on a consignment, and Spencer picked the songs, you know. Pick Come On, Feel the Noise, and Mama We're All Crazy. Now, those two Slade songs that made them go from driving in cars to a bus overnight. So, you know,
Well, they went pretty big off that.
It was really interesting. James Brown headlining, and Dio was on the bill. George Duke and Chester Thompson on drums with Irene Cara singing Fame. There was a Russian band. It was an all-day event. Another one of these. James Brown didn't go on for 45 minutes. He found out they were videoing the whole thing, and he was backstage negotiating.
He didn't like it.
No, he didn't like it. He wanted more money.
Oh, wow.
You know, I want more money if you're videoing this. What are you going to do with this? So the band's playing like 45 minutes. The coolest band in town. James Brown. The coolest band in town. James Brown. The King of Soul, James Brown. And they're all jamming, you know, and they're waiting for James to come out. And we had already went on. Quiet Riot went on in the afternoon, and I didn't know all of the old Quiet Riot songs, and we played a couple new ones that we had recorded, and I had yellow notebook legal sheets with the lyrics on, except the Japanese guys didn't know that Come On Feel the Noise or Mental Health was here first verse, and the next legal note piece of paper was supposed to be next to it, and it wasn't. It was like, and they're videoing everything. And Carlos's amp blows up, so he can't do any solos. He can play rhythm. So I'm ad-libbing, and there's Jimmy Waldo from Alcatraz. I got him in the project, and he's backstage with all the voices. To come on, feel the noise, or whatever, with the big, recorded voices. And nobody was singing. So the guy out front of the house, there was a ground problem with his keyboards. He's backstage. So we can't see each other. And it was the last gig that we ever did where we didn't have him on stage, because I was running around and I'm hearing all of these voices on the monitors and nothing's going out front. And Carlos, it was Spinal Tap to the max. It was on 11. It couldn't have got any worse. Carlos' amp blows up. The guy's got his camera over my shoulder. You see all of the paperwork. I'm looking for the next verse of the song. Oh, it was total chaotic mess. It really was. But we got through it, we plowed through it. And I went up to James Brown, and that afternoon before we played, and people were it was outdoors, an all-day thing into the night. And I went up to him, and then he had this bodyguard with him, and I went, I feel good. Hey, James. And the guy looks at me and he goes, it's Mr. Brown too. So this girl takes a picture of me and James, and she worked for a radio station in California, and somehow or another she had a crush on me, but there was no way I was going to I was going to slide in for that picture, So she said, if you do this or do that, come to my room, blah, 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 blah. I'll give you a copy of this picture. And I just kind of went, I don't think so.
And you were gone.
Yeah, so I bailed, you know, and I never got the picture. And then I actually was real good friends with Tommy Ray, James Brown's widow. When he passed away, she was at that gig backstage. She used to live here in Las Vegas. And there's this boot company that we did some conventions for. So they started giving us boots. And so she said, hey, it just so happened James' foot was the same size as mine. She said, I'll trade you a pair of his boots. Because they were like Beatle boots. I'll trade you a pair of his boots for a pair of, you know, give me a pair of boots. And then she moved to England and the UK, and we fell out of touch, you know. And she was going through a whole thing with the Brown family on the estate, you know, and she had James, little James, she had, you know, a baby with him, but they didn't recognize her being part of the so-called Brown family. And so she had to go through some litigation. I never actually realized how everything ended up, if they, you know, gave her part of the estate or what. But she did have some of his suits, and I'd love to have a pair of those boots.
You were close.
Picture, but I didn't get the picture with him. But I would have loved to have them boots. They'd just be sitting somewhere. I'd probably put them in a glass case and put James Brown's footage on it. And I got Leon Spinks. I mean, it was pretty cool. He gave me a glove signed before he passed away. He was a really sweet guy. Champion. The only guy that actually ever knocked out Muhammad Ali.
Oh, really?
Muhammad Ali, actually, yeah, he got the rope-a-dope. I got 2 pictures in my studio of signed by Leon knocking out. One's bam, and you see Ali going this way. And the guy that gives me my canes that my wife has a passion for rescue dogs, so
that's lovely. It's awesome.
Auction these canes off, and his name is Remo Tuliani. And on the Rock Meets Classic tour, my hip went out. I don't know. It was from an old wound. I was teaching my son how to dive off the diving board and hit the side of the pool with my hip, and never did anything with it. And that night, I guess Rough Cutt, we had the video "Piece of My Heart" for Warner Brothers, and I was on pain pills, and so out of sync. I'll never forget that. So I think this was an injury from way back when we did the video. And so the first gig on Rock Meets Classic, my hip goes out. I'm going across stage with the cane, and it's got Swarovski crystals on it. And we've had people, you know, we've auctioned them off, and people paid up to $1,800 for them. So this guy gives me a dozen at a time, and then he started putting my autograph on it, you know. And I'm going to tell this guy, I can't pick up on this. And so somebody's calling me, and I'm not even going to answer that. So anyways, he gave me, I met him at a convention, and he saw Raiding the Rock Vault. So he gives me these beautiful canes, and he's got a guy in Italy that, you know, signs them on a piece of wood, you know, my signature. And it's, you know, he goes through a lot of trouble for a cane. So then I hurt myself in that tour. And the Alex Byroff, the guitar player, says, "Have you seen the doctor?" And I says, "A doctor?" And he says, "Yeah, we have an orthopedic surgeon on the tour." I says, "You're kidding me." I did 3 shows on ibuprofen, you know, and I saw him, and they started giving me a shot every night in my hip. And at least he told me, you don't have to worry about having hip replacement. You don't need surgery. You know, this is they've said it's a form of bursitis is what they say it is. It's a form of arthritis. Old people get it, and being 72, I'm an old person. And though everybody on that tour was old, I mean, Tarja was in her early 40s, and then you had Robert Hart was 65, and the rest of us was 70 up. You know, so that was a great tour. And so I asked him recently, I said, hey, I need a cane now that I can use to walk with. So it looks like the Terminator. You know, it doesn't have the Swarovski crystals or the red eyes. It just is a silver head, and it almost looks like when the Terminator, you know.
That's cool eyes.
It's bad looking. So I get to walk with that. And then I've just started using it on stage as a prop here and there. You know, I don't need it all the time, but so he sent me 6 canes with my signature, and I still had a couple of the Swarovski crystals, and he sent me some with black crystals on them. But that was my cane. When he gave it to me, started putting my signature on it, he discontinued it to selling it at all. So he's really a cool dude. I've never met an Italian, and he actually took Muhammad Ali to a place here in Vegas. It's been here over 50 years, called the Golden Steer. Frank Sinatra's eating there. He has a booth. Dean Martin, Sammy Davis, they all have their booths. And my buddy Ramo has a booth with Muhammad Ali there because he took Muhammad Ali there. And so they made a booth, named it after him and Muhammad Ali. But he's like, I've never met, I mean, I'm Sicilian and I'm like 5'8", and this guy's got to be 7 feet. I couldn't believe it. I look like a midget next to him. We went to some shows together, but we've become really good friends and buddies. And he knows my wife. Like we had 2 Podancos from Spain. One passed away, and then we have one left, and he's 11. Ringo. I should have named him Hercules because Ringo. He's afraid of everything. And then we have 2 Labradors from Korea, meat markets. And one's Presley and the other one's Priscilla. And we had a black lab, and he was actually from someone that bred them. And so he was from a breeder farm, and he had a big blockhead, and we named him Elvis, jet black. And so then we had one of the Podancos that passed away. He was only 8 years old, and he was Dio. We named him after Dio. So we had Elvis was the king, and Dio met, he was we called him the Pope of Spanish Oaks. He came here so frightened, and he was so little that he ended up being the boss of the whole place. And I used to have a little talking pet thing. And I would go, hey, everybody, it's a Dio here. And I got a joke for you. And I'd pick out these jokes. And every day I'd post on Twitter and Facebook and Instagram, just a little him telling a joke. And people knew him all over the world, I mean, it was a really trip. Anybody that was following us, that wasn't in this country, they look forward to Dio's joke of the day. And the other dogs, I couldn't find a voice, but for his voice, I found the perfect voice. Hey, everybody, it's a Dio here. And this little talking pet, and then you could actually, I would use that voice, and then I'd, speed it up a little bit. because you could either slow it down or speed it up. So it was probably like, "Hello, everybody, it's a deal here, and you know." But I do miss those. He passed away at a very young age. He was too young to pass away. But now we got 3. We had 4 at one time, and now it's just Presley, he was going to be Veal. The ladies go in to rescue these dogs, and men beat them. And Priscilla, she is a lot. She's as big as Elvis was, who was a range Labrador, and they're like one of the largest breeds. And she was on the farm. She heard the dogs screaming because they skin them alive and then put them in boiling water, so she still has post-traumatic syndrome. She just recently has been coming up to me, in her own way, and let me know that she wants a treat or something. But the other dogs, I mean, Presley is whoever fostered him. He's a hoot. He is the happiest dude. He's the happiest dog I've had dogs a lot in my life. He's probably the happiest dog. He's got a smile on his face. And
awesome.
And Ringo is very jealous of him. So Ringo's very talkative. And these dogs, I think, came from Egypt 1,000 years ago to Spain. And so there's the Pedancos, the Galgos, and then the Greyhound. And the Pedancos, they breed them, and then hunting season's over. They go for rabbits, they're bred sight and smell. And they have a long snout so they could get into a rabbit hole and they're really fast. They look like a miniature Greyhound. And so my wife, she saw him and Ringo, and now Ringo, he's just jealous. And if Presley could lift up his finger and go, he would, he would definitely do that, because he just smiles and just like ignores him. And Ringo's like, and I just wish I kind of would have. I think the name Hercules might have made him a little tougher. I don't know. I didn't forget Priscilla. She's still the one that has PTS.
Do you guys still rescue dogs?
Dusty that. Yeah.
Do you guys still rescue dogs, or?
Oh yeah. We're gonna do another event. We did after COVID, and I got Phil Susan to play bass, and we did an acoustic thing. And this guy opened up a restaurant, and it was outdoors, and they had a stage outdoors, and we had a lot of the Vegas entertainers show up and be a part of it. And we raised $25,000 for the rescue, and closed down 2 meat markets and saved 100 dogs.
That's awesome.
And I got to meet the Korean lady. She came over here and made Presley a hat. And I have this straw hat that my wife hates. And I got it in Palm Springs, and I can stick it in a bag and pull it out, and it's just floppy. I mean, it's a funky looking hat, but everybody goes, "Hey man, that's a cool hat." Except one of my dogs ate part of it, so I sewed it up. So it's still, now it looks really funky, but it's floppy, right? And it's got a string around it so that if I'm touring or whatever and I'll take it, with this kinky hair and curly hair, it wasn't like that when I was younger. But if I get windblown, it's like, I do weddings, right? So they said, "Hey, would you like to do a wedding in a hot air balloon?" And I said, "I don't know. It'll be attached. You'll just be up 100 feet." And I says, "Okay." So I'm in a basket, and it's at sunrise that we're going to get in this balloon, and the balloon basket holds 12 people. I'm doing a marriage, I'm marrying a couple, and a renewal. And so we get out, I go out to the address, and they put everybody in a van, and we take out to the desert. And I'm going, wait a minute, I don't think I'm going up 100 feet. And they drop us off in the middle of the desert, and there's 3 balloons, they're blowing up with the gas, and one isn't blowing up. So, and then they're telling you all the worst things that can happen.
Oh yeah, I bet. I bet.
All the worst things. And we get in, and a funny thing about it was every time that dude hit the gas, my hair would go up into the hot air balloon, you know? I'm getting my hair cinched every time. I said, would you warn me when you... So we ended up going up almost, I think 2,500 to 5,000 feet. And just, it was perfect weather for it, because I had this vision of the wind just taking us. And just before we did this, they had this balloon that was blowing across California, one part of Las Vegas into Colorado. It was a silver balloon. And I had this vision that, you know, if it got windy, I don't know where we're going, you know. And then when we landed, you know, you got to squat, you got to really be careful, you know, and it was so easy, you know. Scared the crap out of you for nothing, you know.
Not a chance.
It's kind of like scuba diving.
Scuba diving's easy, I reckon. I'm not good with the air stuff.
I've gotten stoned, and a friend left tanks at my house, and I got in the pool and sat there and breathed underwater, and it was really cool. I went snorkeling in the Caribbean. But after seeing Jaws, I don't think, and especially in Australia, you guys got a lot of great whites there.
Oh yeah, there was just a recent shark attack as well. There's a lot of dead. It's not even just the sharks. It's like blue ring octopuses, stonefish. It's crazy. The beaches here.
You know what? I mean, there's a whole lot of things in the ocean that we don't know about. You know, they said we could make it. We've been to the moon. I watched it. I don't know if it was real or not now, you know, because they go on about it. It was real when I watched it in the 60s, and I was a kid. And if we could get to the moon, you think we could get to the bottom of the ocean?
Yeah,
sure. See what's down there. I mean, I bet there's some stuff down there, probably from prehistoric times that we don't even know about.
It has to be, surely.
Yeah.
I mean, have you ever been down here before to Australia?
No? I've always wanted to go there, and also New Zealand. I wanted to come to both your countries, and haven't been there. I've been, you know, and I haven't been to China, because we were at, when we did this show with, I don't know if it was with Sting or if it was with, I think it was with James Brown. I think it was with Rough Cutt, and they were going to take the tour to Hong Kong and Singapore. It was under British rule then, and because we all had long hair and stuff, they didn't want for us to go, and I kind of wish we could have went. I've been to South Korea on my way to Japan, but you know, I'm always wanted to come to Australia. A guy I did a record with Carmine Appice and Tim Bogart, a guy named Javier Vargas. He just was touring. We did some touring together in all of Spain. We started in Ibiza and then the Canary Islands, and we did some European dates as well. He's quite a blues player. We did a record together and a couple videos. And then I went over to Spain and we toured all the ports, started in Ibiza toured where the Nina Pinta and Santa Maria left with Columbus, where the Mediterranean and the Atlantic meet. And it was right there where the ships departed from Spain for the New World. And so it was really cool. It was, we also played in, everything was in the castle in Santiago, Spain. And Carmine had a earring that was a dagger. And that was their signature. Because back when the Moors were invading the Mediterranean, Italy, Sicily, Spain, France, all the Moors, are from Africa, they're Muslims. And basically, Santiago, that castle, is where this guy, El Cid, they were fighting and they were going to whip the Spanish. And they actually knew that the Moors knew that they got El Cid with an arrow, and it was a poisonous arrow. So the Spaniards propped him up on his horse and let him out the gates. And it freaked the Moors out. He thought he came back to life. And he came charging out. That's the legend. And actually Charlton Heston and Sophia Loren did a movie called El Cid. And it's the story of that. And that's why they have this dagger looking symbol. And it was really trippy because we were staying in a hotel outside the castle that looked like a castle. But inside the castle everything was going on. The shops, they had a church, they had these guys singing opera. They had a guy that looked like Gandhi. It was hanging out. Little things. He was standing there like a statue. I mean, that's a big thing there. When we were touring in Spain, me, Carmine, and his lady Leslie were shopping. And they have people like maybe with a broom, that's dressed up, and they're just standing there. But we saw this one dude that looked like a devil. I mean, literally looked like Satan himself with horns. And he had this mask on and this suit. And what was really weird about it is I got him on video. And when I went back to see it later,
wasn't there? That's tricky.
Freaky. It was freaky. I think there might be a picture on my computer that I have to take in, and they have to go through the hard drive because the internal battery died on it. And I have a lot of stuff on there from Spain and a lot of music that some demo stuff I wrote. And so it's just kind of I need to take it to someone and have them. I started taking a little. I looked on YouTube to see where the battery was. And so I went from underneath instead of taking all the keys off, because that's what you'd have to do. I went and bought a round little saw, and I started sawing out the bottom. Wasn't there. Battery wasn't there. So I figured, I think I'll stop while I'm ahead. I'll just take it to someone who knows about computers. And a friend of mine said he can take anything out of the case. He's got drivers, because my Pro Tools took a dump. It's so old, I had the Control 24, it's all outdated. And it finally just took a dump. Thousands of dollars, everything. I wasn't online. Now I'm online with that. And it's not the same. It's all a learning curve. I was so used to using the board instead of the keys.
Yeah, the keys.
Movements, I know some of them, edits, but it's a bit of a pain in the ass. The computer is faster. Everything's faster than what I had before. I had a G5 that it was bored out to as far as it could go.
I'll be honest, I don't know what that is. A G5.
Well, it's a lot older probably than you are.
Yeah.
And Probably from the late 90s.
Yeah, I was born in 2006, so yeah.
Apple G5 computer. But the Control 24 hooked into it, and I had a 50-foot snake, and I was so used to using the board on. So I have a really small setup now, but it works. You know, I find doing some of this stuff I'm doing with Carmine for Cleopatra, he's sending me all of his drums because he's got his own studio, and I imported all his drums, and the guitar players sent me all these tracks of guitars, left and right, this, and guitar, this, harmony guitar, this. And I started importing stuff, and it wouldn't take it all. I need to spend more money for a more, I think it's $100 a year. It's the artist version. I only got it because I only want to do vocals, or, I can lay down guitars, some MIDI stuff, to write songs. So they're sending me all these files, and they're not coming through because I don't have enough space.
Yeah, storage. That's
and then I have to slow the bit speed down to the lowest. And then when I want to listen back to it, I got to put it at a higher bit rate. Oh, it's just.
That's a pain.
It is. It really is. And if your internet's out or it goes down, you're screwed. At least they'll have it backed up, but you're done. You can't do any more work. I haven't had that problem yet. So I'm very grateful. But technology's moving so fast.
It is.
People don't even have to have talent anymore. They can tune everything, and it blows my mind how fast, as soon as you think you got everything and you're happening, you're outdated.
Yeah, you gotta get next to the next one.
This, on a phone, right?
Yeah.
Good. This is crazy.
What was it? I didn't.
17 hours away from me, aren't you?
Yeah, some 17, 18, something crazy like that. I'm not looking forward to the flight next year. I'm coming to LA next year. So
you are?
Yeah.
Awesome, man. Let me know when you're coming.
I will do, because
I won't be here in October, unfortunately, because I'll be in Europe. But it's been a trippy journey, and I'm going to write a book, because you said there's so many. When we the first show we did with Icons of Classic Rock, we flew out of Las Vegas and we're flying into Arizona and Phoenix, and then from Phoenix to Mazatlan. Well, I get on the plane. I got to be at the airport at 4 o'clock. Plane leaves at 6, so you got to be there 2 hours ahead. So I get on the plane and I crash. And I crashed out like.
The plane crashed. I was like, what?
I fell asleep is a better term. And I wake up 2 hours later, and I look out the window, and someone's next to me, and I look out the window, and I go, wow, Phoenix looks just like Vegas, the airport. And the guy there, or the lady or guy, I don't even remember if it was a guy or a woman. I think it was a guy. He says, oh, no, man, we haven't left yet. I said, what do you mean we haven't left yet? He says, no, somebody was in the bathroom smoking a vapor. So they had the Three Stooges up there. I'm saying to myself, you mean we can't fly the plane because the smoke detector in the front bathroom of the plane isn't working? That's like Carrot Top saying, okay, everybody put your tray table up. And he has this in his show where they come and go, sir, would you put your tray table up? And he goes, what do you say? My tray table? What? What do you mean? The pilot can't fly the plane with the tray table down? Or he can't land the plane with the tray table down? Sir, please put your tray table up. What's wrong? What, is Captain Crunch up there? No, my table, my tray table is down. And he says, as he's telling the joke, he goes, yeah, I can see Captain Crunch up there going, Hey, Roger, is this a tray table down or a seat belt? Shaking the steering wheel of the plane, but that's in his show. But it was like they had these three guys there, and they finally put us on another plane after 2 hours on the tarmac. And then we get to Phoenix, and I fall asleep again on the plane. And we're sitting there for 2 hours, and I wake up and I go, "Wow, Mazatlan looks just like Phoenix." And the lady next to me, now it's a lady, she goes, "No, we haven't left yet. They can't fill up the right wing with fuel." God, are you kidding?
Happen again.
Yeah, no, yeah, total spinal tap. Really. I mean, it's just. And when we played in Bolivia, Macaulay's on this show, and we're coming into Santa Cruz, and the plane goes down, and it's a real rough freaking landing, and they run out of runway, and they take back off, right? And so we came back and landed, and then the same thing happened in Bolivia, in La Paz, which is really high up, and it's hard to breathe there. So the Indians, they eat cocoa leaves, and we had oxygen on stage and stuff, but the bass player Alex at the time in Icons of Classic Rock on these shows spoke Spanish, so we were sitting next to this Indian lady who was flying home to La Paz. I mean, by Indian, not from East India, but a Bolivian Indian. And she was telling us where we could get the cocoa leaves, because they don't sell them in the markets. They sell them at little kiosks.
Okay.
So I ended up, first thing we got is I said, we got to get some cocoa leaves. And it really did open your lungs. I mean, it didn't get you high. It was a natural way. It worked better than the oxygen. And there was there were a bunch of cocoa leaves, and you put them in your mouth, and then they had this big chunk of cocoa in there that was sweet. And you'd put that in there on the side of your mouth and just sit and let it absorb in your mouth, the cocoa leaves and this sweet piece of, I guess it was cocoa, and man, I'll tell you right now, it was amazing. And look, nobody would, a lot of the guys wouldn't do it. They thought it was all this cocaine. Oh no, it's before they, this is what God put on the planet for these people that live here and work here. They eat them all the time. They're not walking around with oxygen tanks.
No.
And it was a trip seeing. I mean, we were so high up, and they had houses at night because they didn't have electricity. The mountains just twinkled because you could see the candlelight.
That's awesome. That's
They
beautiful.
didn't have a lot of electricity down in the bottom where everything activity was going on, city life, whatnot. That had electricity, but the poor Indians who were living almost to the top of the mountain peaks. It was unbelievable. I've got some great video footage and some great pictures. And in one gig, it was in Zacatecas, and we played in a cathedral, and the hotel was right next to the cathedral, and it held like about 30,000 people. But from my hotel room, I could see the stage, so I could just walk right to the stage. It was really a great gig, and we just played there. I think it was a month and a half ago. We did the Zacatecas. Yeah, the gigs come in slowly, but they're a lot of fun. It's a new way of people touring. Because it's not like it used to be economically viable to get out and tour. So we'd play these festivals, and the festivals Mexico has so many festivals. I mean, we were down there doing some TV stuff. It was me and Dave Evans, and I was standing outside this restaurant. We were waiting, hanging out to go to do some TV for the show. And this person pulls up and gets out of the car, and it's a senator in Mexico. So she invites us to come to the Capitol, and we meet all these senators, and it was a trip. It was, and they all wanted to kind of meet us because here we are, two rock guys walking around, and they're going, "Hey, I wonder who are these guys? Yeah, I want to go find out, but we got to meet a lot of. Actually, I met the president when she was governor.
Wow.
Claudia Sheinbaum or whatever her name is. Yeah, she calls me Paulo, but yeah, we met her a couple times, and she came off really cool. But I hear she is kind of hooked up with the cartel. I mean, when a country's, I mean, all countries have their. It doesn't matter. They have their politicians to sell them out. Money talks and bull walks. If I would have known what I know now about politics, I might have got into politics because you're taking care of the rest of your life. That I'd be a singing politician. There's a guy here that had a show on called Counting Cars, and he had a club here in Las Vegas called Vamped, and I was on his TV show. He rebuilds classic cars, and they made a show out of it, and so it became very popular. And I did an episode on there when we were doing Rating a Rock Vault, but it's you find out that he goes, you know what, you should be the mayor of Las Vegas, and I'm going, I don't know, no, you should run for mayor now in your later age, because actually the mayor of Las Vegas only controls old Las Vegas. The Strip is controlled by the governor. So,
okay.
The mayor just is in old Las Vegas, don't really have much power, If you pay enough money, you can have a day named after you or a month, whatever.
Really?
Yeah. Oh, wow. By the mayor, you pay them a certain amount of money, and they'll, give you your day. This is so-and-so's day. And you can hang a plaque up. I mean,
that's so weird. That's exactly.
It's a wanker kind of thing. You got to be really into yourself. And I'll tell you, I did some really cool record. I did a record with Tracy G, who played with Dio, and the record is called Blue Dahlia, and it's I should send you some stuff.
Okay, I would love that. Yeah,
I'll send you some stuff. I'll send you some MP3 stuff, and I'll make a package up with some CDs and stuff.
Beautiful. But, thank you, man. Appreciate that.
It was kind of like Gary Moore meets Led Zeppelin. It was a really great record, and it just, we signed on a small label, and and that didn't do much. Just signed to the big labels, the big machine, and they're not signing, much rock and roll anymore.
No, they're not.
Your own following before they, what's your social media status? Oh, 1 million plus. Okay, we'll think about signing you. That way we don't have to spend any money.
And it's a think as well. It's not a guarantee. That's the thing. We'll think about it. But back then, like, I watched documentaries and the label was signing everyone left, right, and center. It was just crazy.
I'll tell you what, just even, doing the hearing aid thing with everybody involved in that was Rough Cutt had just got signed. So it was like, wow, here are all these people that I've bought records, and I'm in the same room with them. This is a trip. Then I get to sing a couple lines. Wow.
Yeah, because you get to work with Dio, Rob Halford, Jeff Tate.
Yeah.
How was that? That must have been crazy for you.
It's unbelievable. It really was. It was like we did all of the tracking, the guitar stuff, and all of the background vocals was recorded at A&M Records. And then the single vocal lines of each guy was a place called Rumbo Studios, and that was owned by Captain and Tennille. And they had some songs out in the 70s, like a song called Love, Love will deep us together, forever. You know, and here we are doing heavy metal vocals in this studio. This is a cool, Rumbo was a cool studio. But all of the vocals were done at Rumbo, and everything else was done at A&M. It was an amazing experience. Now that I look back on it, you know, I mean, I got to meet so many people through Ronnie that I would have never probably ever been able to meet. Glenn Hughes, David Coverdale, I mean, Rob Halford, I mean, and everybody that was in that session. I mean, all those guys, from Vince Neil, I mean, you know, we all, Kevin DeBro, everybody, that whole LA scene, but more. You know, you had Ted Nugent, you had, you know, Carmine. I mean, you had legends also, you know, involved in that whole thing that went down. And the guitar, I mean, then guitar solos are amazing. I mean, it's just how he picked everything out, because everybody, all the singers had to sing the whole song. So he picked out the lines. Ronnie produced the whole thing, so he picked out all the guitar solos. He picked out all of the vocals lines for each guy. So it was kind of an amazing experience. I just kind of think back to how things used to be. You know, you had a studio, you'd go in, it was a creative space. Now you can do everything at home and
on the computer,
create your own, you know, creative space, but it's still not the same. It's not the same. I'm engineering. You seem to want to do a better performance when somebody else is on the other side of the glass. Kind of want to impress them. Yeah, so you want to do your best. Sometimes you overdo it, you know, and I go back and think I would have probably sang some of the songs in Rough Cutt and Quiet Riot differently, you know, because once you get out on the road, you know, so everybody start your region, stop and ready to roll, you know, singing up there 6 nights a week, you know, and then we were touring with Crocus and Accept, and then when we had a day off, we were in a club. When we were touring with Dio and not doing an arena, we were in a club, you know, and it was like, some nights it was like, so everybody's it was like Cookie Monster. You know, by the time I got through that song, my voice came back. And it was really, you know, I had some weird experiences, you know, with you know, Paul Rogers was really smart. All the stuff that he ever sang, he can still sing, you know, baby, when I think about you, you know, there's no effort, you know, it's just, when I met him quite a few times, and last time I saw him, I told him that he was the Frank Sinatra of rock and roll. The way he phrases everything, and I told him that, and he goes, you know, that's probably the best compliment anybody could give me. I went, wow. You know, because Frank was a great phraser, didn't have a great voice. Paul Rogers got a great voice and a great phraser. I think everybody wants to sound like him, you know. I mean, he was like probably the go-to guy that Lou Gramm listened to, and, you know, even Robert Plant, you know, was a big fan of Paul Rogers, you know. Hearing the first Black Sabbath album coming out with Alone and Together. Dave Mason came out, his album came out that year, the same time, and the first Led Zeppelin album, all around the same time period. And Blind Faith, some awesome stuff at that time, all coming out at the same time. Music was so diversified, you know, and Mountain, and Leslie West, Mississippi Queen.
It was
I
all right.
remember reading on the album, Play It Loud, because the production, they recorded it live. And what a great record. They weren't thinking about production. That shit came around in the 80s. The guys in the 70s went in there and were in there. I mean, Hendrix and Joplin, Jim Morrison, all those guys, when they passed away, were broke. And their estates, because the record companies say, hey, we'll give you what you want, You want to go stay in the studio, Hendrix built Electric Ladyland and put that album out with Watchtowers on it. It was a Voodoo Child, a great record. I did some recording in that studio, actually, in the record plant in New York. Now, their studios, they're far in between. And all the old analog stuff is the best stuff. The digital thing is the plugins that are simulating this or simulating that aren't as good as the real deal. A plugin that says it's a Marshall is not Marshall. When we were recording Rough Cutt with, I think it was Jack Douglas, yeah. We were at Cherokee Studios and we got done recording some stuff. And Stevie Wonder came in, and
That's awesome.
he was sitting at the piano, and we went in the control room and listened to him just play. And he was telling his engineer they flooded the bathroom and went in there with plungers to get a rhythm. Right. So they taped this flooded bathroom with plungers, and then brought in crickets from Louisiana and frogs. And that was all the rhythm that he was playing his piano to. And I mean, it was what an experience. I mean, my jaw was just like, I can't believe I'm listening to this guy. It was just magic. Everything that came out of his mouth and playing, it was just something about, blind people that they touch us, they get in tune with a sense that we're not totally in tune with. There was I was doing a record, the Shortino album called It's About Time. And we named it that because it took forever. I actually got a call from these German guys that wanted me to come over and do this project and do it as a solo thing with the German players. And so I went over there and we started doing some recording. And then I came home and was going to go back, and I get a call. And it's this guy, Tom Trumbull, that is with this management company, Steve Byers. And they were managing John Entwistle, Skunk Baxter, and Mickey Thomas. And then there was a drummer and a keyboard player. Well, Mickey Thomas didn't want to sign the deal without being able to do any solo stuff. So he left the project. So they called me and said, you want to audition for this? So I go and audition for it. And I think we did it at Westlake Audio. We actually did it in a studio, and they were playing directly into the board, and I was singing, and that the music was very rhythm and blues. And Skunk Baxter from the Doobie Brothers was playing guitar. Entwistle had triple stacks on the whole side of the stage, and then the keyboard player was on the other side, and Skunk had a half stack, right? And that was rehearsal, and really at mates, and that's all you could really hear was bass. So I go back to Germany, and I get a call from them. And they're saying, "Hey, we really want you to come back. The guys really want to just kind of spend some time with you." And I'm going, "Well, I'm in the middle of this project, and I don't think I can get away." Well, I ended up coming back, and I came back the day before the Rodney King riots in LA. And I go to rehearsal, and Skunk Baxter shows up with an ATF vest on, and he's sitting on top of studios with guns, and shows up with rehearsal and all decked out like he's ready, to go into a riot zone. And because they were rioting everywhere. LA was burning to the ground. It was crazy. And so we rehearsed for a while together, and then I had to go back to Europe, and I just didn't feel right about some of the songs that Entwistle threw my way. And so I just ended up doing the solo thing, and they moved on, and nothing ever happened with the project. They ended up getting a 23 or 24-year-old singer, and they all look like old men, I mean, so I don't think anything ever came of it. It was on Scotty Brothers, and that was a mafia run record label. So it was pretty interesting. It's another interesting story. I've got quite a few, it's crazy.
You've had a really good career, I'd say. Like, you've worked with so many people, so many albums, like I was saying before, lots of bands you've worked with, festivals, shows, crazy.
I'm really grateful. The Lord has blessed me. I still got my own hair, my teeth, and I still got my voice. And my wife takes really good care of me, and probably wants me to live to be 104. We just had our 34-year anniversary.
Yeah, I saw that the other day.
On Monday, and it was like, she goes, "Oh, I'd like to have you another 34 years. I'm going, I'll be 104. I'll be going on stage with a walker."
At least you're still going. It'll be awesome.
Yeah, I'm still rocking. I'm going to have to rock till I drop,
I love that.
I didn't plan for the future.
I hope to hear you play one day. Just come watch you. I mean, there's a lot of guys that I wish would come watch, because there's not many bands that come down here.
I do some acoustic things here in town, where I do like 90 minutes of songs that I like, and some of my, my own songs that that I've written and stuff. But I like doing some, like God Bless the Child. That I do the Blood, Sweat, and Tears version without the horns. So I just do it on the 12-string. Da da da, da 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 da. Da-da-da-da. God Bless the Child. I'm trying to think of who the female singer would. Billie Holiday. It was her big track. But I get to do songs that that my mom was a singer, and I get to do Eagles. I get to do just some off the cuff stuff that it's away from the metal stuff or the rock stuff. And actually
I like how you do both though. You go off the rock stuff, but you still do some of the rock stuff, which is awesome.
Yeah. Oh yeah. I like I said, to do a record with Tim Bogart, who's, God rest his soul, gone, and Carmine with Javier Vargas was something I'll never forever forget. Some of the touring, but touring Spain with when I first met Tim Bogart, him and Carmine were in Vanilla Fudge. They were in Bogart a piece. And there's quite a history with those two, and they play amazing together. I mean, so we're doing this project, and we're doing all the recording here in Las Vegas. And Tim Bogart's staying at Palace Station, which is just around the corner from my house. So Carmine's flying in. Tim comes in a day before Carmine. He drives up from LA. And I pick him up, and we're going to go have sushi. And Javier's with me. And he's in the front. And I had a Lexus then, and 4-door. And I already thought that he was in the car. Because we're only like, Carmine and me, we're only like 3-4 years apart. Same with Tim Bogart, you know. So he goes, oh, you're one of Carmine's heavy metal guys, aren't you? And I go, I don't know how to take that, you know, because I grew up listening to R&B and a lot of different stuff, you know. I got into the metal thing because of Dio, you know, and you know, he was working with us, and you know, so kind of got with Jakey Lee and all of that stuff, kind of roped into doing heavy metal. And so he gets in the car, and I'm taking off before he's in the car. So we kind of chill out, you know. He makes a few comments, and so I says, okay, listen, I says, I got to pick Carmine up at the airport. So I'll come by here, and you follow me in your Mini Cooper to the studio. So I pick Carmine up, and here comes Tim. It's the first day of recording. He comes walking over, and I have a little PT Cruiser for my dogs.
Oh, it's awesome.
Right, Cadillac, but the PT Cruiser, I take the seats out, and there's a bed in the back.
That's so cool. That's so cool.
So in the back is all Carmine's luggage. There's no seats. I didn't put any seats in because he was going to follow us. I can put the seats in because there's a piece of plywood that goes on where the seats sit. It goes on top of that. So if I pull out the plywood that's got two little 2x4s like legs on it, and it's cut out so it lays flat along with the rest of the back of the car. So I put the plywood in, and then a lady made a bed for the car to fit how the shape of the back is. So I look at Tim and I go, I told you have to drive. And he throws a Moody, right? And Carmine goes, oh my God, there's Tim. First day of recording. And we start out with a Moody. So Javier was doing Parisian Walkways by Gary Moore. And he keeps playing the solo over and over and over in the studio. And we're recording on tape with this SSL board. And Tim's out there, and he wants to play. He said, I'm ready to play, man. And he hears Javier do another pass on a solo. He says, man, if I don't get to play pretty soon, I'm out of here. I'm going to leave. And he was a heavy pot smoker. That was his thing, okay? We didn't hit it off until I gave him the joint and said, hey, man, you want to get high? He goes, dude, do I? You know, and then we were best friends.
That's when it clicked. That's when
yeah, all of a sudden. And then, you know, he was mellow, and I told him, you know, yeah. And it was my idea that we didn't do it. We did a remake. It was signed to Warner Brothers out of Spain. And it was all cover stuff, except for we did a remake of Lady from Beck, Bogart, and a Piece. And there's a video out there on YouTube. And Javier Vargas, Bogart, and a Piece featuring Paul Shortino. And the guy that did the video, he took all this footage of Vegas and put us in the, you know, the advertisement things. You know, so here we're performing, and it's on a big screen where they show who is performing at the casinos. And so, anyways, this guy did an amazing job in the video. Quite a few. Mario did quite a few videos, and we did a remake of "If You Think I'm Sexy," and we did Pat Travers is playing rhythm on guitar, and it's like da 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 da. Whoa. It's badass. There's a video out there that it's like Matrix. I'm moving like this. We did it in the studio in Spain, and it is it's a really cool version. And in the middle of it, my son's cousin is in the rapping, and he did a rap in it. My heart's really pounding, and I feel like I'm right in the middle of the whole thing.
That's cool.
And he did it with a bullhorn. So I just put the bullhorn up when we did the video. He did the rap. He's a big Eminem guy, rap.
Okay.
So in the middle, we're doing this rap. And then when we did it live, I had to learn to rap. Yeah, and he had a cool rap. He really did. I didn't actually got all of it right. In the rhythm that he did it, but I got it good enough when we did it live. But it's a cool video, and it's a cool version of it.
I'll have to give it a look. I'll have to give it a look.
You can check it out. Yeah. It's probably under the Vargas Blues band.
Okay.
It's sexy. Yeah. And then we did I did a Send in the Clowns. I don't know if you saw that, with Carrot Top, and then also the drummer on that is Benny Paul Abbott, and the bass players Marco Mendoza from Whitesnake and a lot of other bands or whatever. But it's a really cool version. And then the chick clown in it is in the Porn Hall of Fame, Tabitha Stevens. So Carrot Top's makeup, he did his own makeup, is like Keith Ledger from the Joker.
I haven't watched that film.
Oh yeah, it's scary. It's kind of scary. And then I had a black star and a white face. You know, I did a kind of a mime kind of thing. Not quite the total Kiss thing, but
close enough.
Partially that vibe for a clown, to be a clown kind of thing. But it's a great version of it, man. I'll tell you that right now. That it's on YouTube. And there's another track, Make a Wish, where this magician there's a ballad, took the lyrics and then did magic to the lyrics, and then I married them. He and his wife, they weren't married at the time. They're in black and white, and me and the guitar player in color in this ballad, and he does all this magic to some of the lyrics. It's a really cool video. Very Cirque du Soleil. Both videos. The Send in the Clown, actually the lighting guy that does all of the Cirque shows here in Vegas did the lighting. And then we did it at a studio. Black curtains, and just, I had a vision, and it all come out pretty cool. It really did come out good.
With you're talking about music videos, with your early Rough Cutt music videos, what was that like? How did you make up the ideas, or did someone else make them, and the cost? Because I've been interested with that, because I've asked some of the guys, and their answers have been different. Like the management came up with the ideas, or they came up with the ideas for the song, like as a music video sort of thing.
No, on Rough Cutt we had 5 writers, and everybody had to get their idea in there. When we did the second album, we were going to do it with Neil Kernon, and Neil Kernon had just did Dawkins, and they went platinum. So we hung out with Neil Kernon and he was a writer, and he also did Queen's Right, Silent Lucidity. He did that album, and they won a Grammy. So Rough Cutt, I think, would have done better with a producer who was a writer than a producer with production, because having 5 people write and everybody wants to get their idea, and whether it fits the song or not, you know, you got to give, you know, the democratic way of doing things. Actually, it's always better when there's just 2 guys that are writing. Like with Aerosmith, you got Tyler and Perry. Beatles, you had McCartney and Lennon, even though, you know, Harrison wrote more later on. But in the very beginning, you know, usually there's just, you know, 2 guys that are mostly involved in the creative part of it. And the rest of the guys throw in their ideas, you know, they put their stamp on it, you know. It's not like Van Halen, you know, I mean, it's like, you know, that drum sound when you hear it, you know, that guitar when you hear it. I like both singers, Sammy Hagar with them, and I like David Lee Roth with them. I wasn't really very excited with the Extreme singer because he really sounded, I mean, the Extreme was, I seen them live and they were amazing. I didn't ever would have thought that he would have fit in Van Halen, and it wasn't a very good record, you know. You know, and Van Halen came out with most of the bands have done a remake of something, you know. You know, not everybody, but some have, you know.
Yeah, like a reissue.
I mean, they come back for Aerosmith was Walk This Way with Run DMC. They were floating around, you know, doing their own stuff, all messed up on drugs, and then all of a sudden, Run DMC did Walk This Way, and then brought with the band and Tyler, and that's really rap to me, you know. Basically, working with Jack Douglas was interesting because he did all the early Aerosmith records, and it was I went in to do Rock the USA, and I showed up at the studio early, and they were eating Thai food, and I been waiting like 2 weeks now to do my tracks, and they're out having Thai food, and I'm waiting around so that I get in there, and I go in there and start singing. So everybody's Dr. Orange, time to red girl roll, you know, and he's going, no. And he goes out and he goes, now go home and write lyrics to that, come back sing it. And I went, I don't get to sing tonight? No, go home and write lyrics to that. So I came back with, so everybody start your engines, time to get ready to roll. Everybody everywhere tonight, we're gonna rock and roll. All the way from New York City, even all the way to LA. Everybody everywhere's rocking in the USA.
Yeah.
Welcome to the Stars and Stripes tonight. We all were born here to rock in the USA. Let's rock. So, you know, and it was like I working with some producer I learned, and that's how Tyler writes all of the stuff that he writes. He just, you know, and he was a drummer too, so you know he's very percussive about a lot of the stuff that they write. But you know they have magic. You know, when they weren't when Jimmy Crespo did a record with Aerosmith, it wasn't the same as Joe Perry. It was just they have magic, you know. And I think that's what Rough Cutt needed was either a really good producer that was a songwriter, or just 2 guys in the band writing. Like the Rough Cutt 3 that we released, it was just me, Matt, and Amir. The songs on there are really cool.
Yeah, I haven't heard that one. I've only heard the first 2, the 1985, 1986.
The third one.
But I've seen it on Demon.
I'll send you some MP3s of it.
That's
the next day or so, I'll go through the hard drives, and I don't have any CDs left of it. I could reach out to the label. It was a small label that released it.
I've seen him
But
on
it's
Demon
on-
Doll
it's
Records.
On YouTube.
Yeah,
Bed of Black Roses. It's on YouTube. A lyric kind of video, you know, and it's some really cool stuff on there. Some really heavy stuff, and it's a different timbre of my voice. It's not way up there, you know.
it's a bit more mellow.
It's lower, and it's really cool. Some really cool stuff on there. Secrets. There's another song on there that Matt had a dominant bass line to, and it's called "Don't Say a Word," you know. And it's kind of like the bass groove is it. Carlos Cavazo played some solos on the Rough Cutt 3.
I mean, when I got into this music like 4 or 5 years ago, Carlos Cavazo was my favorite guitarist at that time. I was like, he's rad. I love him. Yeah.
He shreds. It looks effortless, you know. When you play with him, you know, he's just like,
Oh yeah, and like all the stuff.
It blows my mind. My fingers don't move that fast. I can play solos, but real slow ain't.
When you played with him in like 1988 with Quiet Riot, did you lift him up on your shoulders like Kevin did? Did he do solos? No.
No, Kevin was a lot taller than me. I could have. I was strong enough to do so, but I didn't want to do anything that Kevin did. Even, you know, I didn't want to try to sing like Kevin, even the songs. Even to this day, if I do any, you know, like Mental Health or something, I do it my own way. And I do it to it's a tribute. Usually I go from Mental Health and Stay With Me Tonight when we do live. Then I do Wild and the Young, and then I'll do Come On Feel the Noise. But Wild and the Young and Stay With Me Tonight, a lot of people in different parts of the world don't know those songs because they just they weren't big hits like Mental Health and Come On Feel the Noise.
I love the Wild and Young. I've got that on vinyl. I always
I think it's a cool song. Yeah, we do that. And in the Icons of Rock, that's when we have the percussionists do a thing and the drummer does a little thing. And I actually introduced the whole band, and they've already been up there for almost 3 hours. So I started thinking about maybe I shouldn't have the drummer do a drum solo so long, because some guys have been up there, you know. One guy got dehydrated and he was cramping up, you know, behind the drums. But yeah, I'm really grateful that I can still do what I do, you know. It's I didn't have no you know, retirement plan. So this is it.
This is it.
I'll rock till I drop.
Yeah, hell yeah. I love that mentality. I love it.
You know, the Stones are still doing it. Like, you know, there's another 2 guys, right? Keith Richards and Mick Jagger, the writing force of that band. It was the Beatles telling them, hey, you know, you guys should write your own songs. They were doing, when they first came out, they weren't doing, except for Satisfaction, but they were doing all blues songs. You know, they were really into, you know, all the Willie Dixon stuff and Muddy Waters. I met Muddy Waters and Muddy Waters and T-Bone Walker. And when I was 16 at a place called the Kaleidoscope on Sunset Boulevard. And it turned out to be, from that, it turned to be the Aquarius Theater, where they did Hair on Sunset Boulevard. And then they turned it into Star Search, same building, and it still remained on Sunset. I saw a lot of bands there, but went backstage. This dude who was, he lived up the street from me, and he was a hoarder. But you walk in his house, and there was 45 and 78s vinyl everywhere. I mean, you were like walking, pathways through the house. It had all this blues stuff. And the harmonica player for Muddy Waters was staying at his house. So he says, "You want to go and see Muddy Waters?" I didn't know who Muddy Waters was, or T-Bone Walker, and I'm so young. So anyways, we went, and this buddy of mine that we were in a band together, me and Dave Smith, we went and went backstage and met the guys and drank some Southern Comfort with them. They were back there drinking before going on stage. And so we went backstage and met them and stuff and went out. And I got to see like Johnny Winters, and I got to see a lot of old rockers. And, I guess I got to be, around the golden age of music.
You're very lucky, man.
I feel for the younger generation that will never get to experience that kind of stuff. Because things have changed so drastically with how they record, and you don't even need to have talent anymore. You can just go take loops and put a song together, and then you can go on AI and they'll write the song in 5 minutes.
Yeah, it's everything's
you can
changed.
come up with a melody, but I think pretty soon AI will be coming up with the melody.
Everything's changing. I mean, personally, I would like it back then. Because that's probably what I'm into. That's the thing. Because a lot of people probably like the way it's going, but because probably what I'm into and the way I am, I would rather be back. Back there.
I think a lot of young people are. I see these young bands. There's these guys on Instagram that are amazing. They've got over 2 million followers, and it's a guitar player, and they both play guitar, but they both got really good voices, and they're called Sons of Legends. And man, these guys are amazing. They went right back to the roots. I mean, he's just got an acoustic guitars, a dobro, whatever. He's playing a groove, whatever. Their songs are amazing. Their voices are amazing. I've turned some people on to them. I mean, and they talk about it. Hey, we're going back to the roots. This is what we do. And what they've done, they're on Instagram all the time. You can check them out, or you can Google them, Sons of Legends. And they're not any sons of any legends, but that's what they call themselves. And they're just two dudes. And I went on YouTube, and they got their own record deal. I said, thanks to you people following us and liking our stuff, and we got our own deal that we don't even have to deal with the record company. We can tell them, they got over 2 million followers. It's just, and people really dig their music. I mean, they're really good. I mean, it's some of the best organic music I've heard in a long time. There's nothing, and then I've heard their record. I've heard the same song done different ways, with them both playing guitar, one guy playing guitar, both of them singing in parts. Then I've gone and listened to their record where they got drums and everything else that they've added to it. And they actually sound better just by stripped down, the electric part of it's cool, but they're so organic and so talented. It shows that you know what. In fact, I follow a couple Christian singers who are just amazing. This guy named Whitaker is unbelievable. Got a big beard, raspy voice, but man, see, it's just, I can't believe how some of the great music that's coming out on Instagram, you know, that people are doing and sharing just a little bit. But Sons of Legend I found on Instagram, and they are just so organic. There's nothing, what you see is what you get. I know they've got an old Shure mic out front, right? And they're singing, but it's been recorded. You know, the quality of their voice sounding and the guitar. I couldn't sit and have reverb on my voice unless I had a PA, or they might have the mic up and they might be plugging the guitar in and going through a PA system and recording it live. But there's, you know, you can hear some burb on their voices but amazing. These guys are amazing. But I want to, when I do my acoustic thing, like I'm going to be this Sunday, it's Rock and Roll Church, and I do a 90-minute show of acoustic songs, and then I go over on the other side of this venue, the composer room, and I do a few songs, or I might host the night. Like a couple of weeks ago, I hosted Sunday night because Andrew Freeman, who is in the last in line, it's his thing. And we bring in different musicians and sometimes guest singers. But I have more fun doing the organic acoustic thing because it's stripped down, you know? It's like, and that's what I like about these guys, Sons of Legend, that they're definitely someone everybody should check out.
I'm definitely going to give them a look. Yeah, because I don't know them.
Look, and you'll be blown away. And actually, you can go on YouTube, and they have, if you type them and Google them, they have some of their songs that they've put, you know, one in the studio and tracked, you know, with drums and stuff. But they're really good. They're really current sounding. But they did a remake too of I Can See It Coming and Dead and Night. Yeah. Oh Lord, that Phil Collins tune, man. They're really great musicians, and they're songwriters. Some of their songs are just really catchy, really, you know, melodic, good lyrics. Just really, it's really good stuff. So I would recommend for everyone to check them out because people are just blowing up the phone or Instagram on them, and they're really humble and down to earth.
Yeah, I'll definitely give them a look. They sound pretty cool.
They play multiple instruments. The one singer will play piano and something, and the other guy will be playing acoustic guitar, or it's just acoustic guitar and them both singing. It's just really good stuff, you know. When you can make something sound that good stripped down, you know they got talent.
Yeah,
anyways.
They're very talented. Yeah. They can get somewhere.
Yeah.
Well, Paul, thank you for doing this interview, man. It's been an honor, and I'm sure people are gonna love it.
Well, it's been a slice of heaven, brother.
And I can't wait, hopefully, to do another one with you, part 2.
Oh, I'll send you some stuff.
Thank you, man. I appreciate it. Is there anything you want to say before I end it?
No, just someday I want to come to Australia.
Alright, too easy. Well, thank you so much, man.